One morning, sprawled on the front page of the Daily News was the headline, "Undercover Agent Surfaces at Minnechaug." But why was the police officer in the school? What was she searching for? Why hadn't the selectmen informed the school committee they had placed an agent in the school? Who else knew about the plan? Tonight, Project Blueberry will look into the undercover agent in Minnechaug. November 7, 1977, the Wilbraham Board of Selectmen, in connection with the Wilbraham Police Department, placed an undercover police officer in Minnechaug Regional High School. Wilbraham Police Officer Robin Pryor, codenamed Shane Bond, posed as a Minnechaug senior. Project Blueberry was denied the request for a taped interview with Officer Pryor because, quote, "I don't want the publicity." But the Project Blueberry investigative reporters did get permission to talk to her off-camera. According to Officer Pryor, her day started at 7:30, like all Minnechaug seniors, but that's where the similarities ended. In the course of the day, she would walk through the Minnechaug halls, talk to students at snack break, and hang around the cafeteria jukebox, all the while searching and probing into the students' lifestyles. She told Blueberry reporters she spent a lot of time in the library, but very rarely attended actual classes. At the end of each day, she would report her findings to Wilbraham Police Chief Raymond Brainerd for filing.
First person we interviewed was Mr. Lovejoy, a selectman for the town of Wilbraham.
Were there any specific suspicions or incidents at Minnechaug that prompted the undercover investigation?
No, I wouldn't say there was any specific incident. Officer Pryor's application had a number of references on it for a considerable amount of undercover work she'd been doing from the last 3 to 5 years. A great deal of it for district attorneys' offices throughout the state and for specific state police barracks. Presented with her expertise and having talked to a number of people with whom she'd worked, both in towns and at the state level, it became apparent that she had a particular talent that we did not possess in our own police department.
I can understand why secrecy is of the utmost importance in a case like this, but why wasn't the school committee informed?
One of the key things that must be considered by anyone who's asking someone else to work undercover is the security of the person who's working undercover. And about the first rule in security is to have as few people know as possible. Initially, the Board of Selectmen and the police chief were the only people to know. As the school became involved, the principal was involved.
The second person we interviewed was Jerry Badger, principal of Minnechaug Regional High School.
Mr. Badger, what was your reaction when the selectmen came to you and told you about this investigation?
I think that probably the initial reaction of was one of concern. Number one, about that type of investigation, but also, secondly, just what the problem drug-wise and so forth was in the school that perhaps initiated their concern on it.
Had they told you before she was placed into the school that they were doing this?
Yes, I was notified probably 3 to 4 weeks prior to that there's a possibility that they would do it.
Did you have any personal say in them doing it?
Well, I certainly approved of what they did. In other words, they asked me, would it be allowed? I had some reservations about it, but it was with my knowledge that it was done, very definitely.
What was your job in this operation as you understood it?
This was really strictly a police matter, so that I really had no particular role in it at all.
So the only reason that you were informed was simply because you were principal and they felt you had to know?
That's correct.
Did this undercover investigation uncover anything that you or the school committee didn't already know?
No, I feel that we had a pretty good idea of exactly what the situation was here at the high school to start with. We are concerned and have been concerned about marijuana in the smoking area and have taken actions to stop that. Additionally, we're very much concerned about the drinking situation after school hours in the parking lots, and both of those areas were two that she focused in as concerns on her report also.
So why tell Mr. Badger over the school committee at all?
Well, Mr. Badger basically is the person who is in charge. He is the principal of the school. Mr. Badger probably has more direct contact, more immediate contact with every aspect of the building and all the students and teachers who are involved in that building. And I think if you think about it, the most logical person to contact would be the principal. And so far as discussing it with the school committee is concerned, it has been suggested that perhaps only the chairman should have been told.
When and how did the school committee learn of the undercover investigation?
Well, I don't remember the specific date, but there was a day back last January when I was contacted by the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Bill Leonard, who advised me that he wished to have the regional school committee meet in emergency session the following evening with the Board of Selectmen. I asked Mr. Leonard as to the nature of the emergency meeting that he wished to have between the two committees, and he advised me basically that he couldn't tell me at that time, but would advise us at the meeting. So the following day we did meet with him. I had been previously notified by Mr. Leonard as to the nature of the meeting earlier that day, and it was not until that particular evening that the regional school committee was advised of what had transpired.
Can the damage to the school's good name and reputation ever be corrected?
Well, I think you have to recall two things relating to this incident. The first thing was actually what Officer Pryor indicated. In her testimony to the selectmen and in her subsequent testimony before the regional school board itself, she in effect gave the school a relatively clean bill of health. She indicated that the measures that were taken by the administration that I referred to before had proven to be most effective. There certainly was no organized system of supply for drugs. There was no utilization of hardcore drugs that she could ascertain. So in effect, she basically said, we really don't have a severe problem. Probably our situation is much better than might be the case in many or the vast majority of schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Right.
Not that we're patting ourselves on the back for this, but we do not think our situation is too bad, and basically Officer Pryor confirmed that. The thing that put everything out of perspective was the newspaper headlines, which completely distorted the testimony and the findings of Officer Pryor and capsulized them in a form that basically said drugs and alcohol were common in the school. She never said that. So in effect it was the Great Fourth Estate that gave the bum rap to Minichog. Insofar as repairing damage to the good name of the school, I think that's an incident that's been pretty well forgotten by most people. I think the school has had so many other commendable things happen to it.
If the school committee were asked permission from the selectmen to hold an undercover investigation before they actually did it, what would your personal opinion be?
If the regional school committee were asked by the selectmen,
right.
Per se? Personally, I'm not speaking for the board now. Personally, I would not be favorably disposed to such an action.
Having talked with the Wilbraham Board of Selectmen, having met with the superintendent of schools, And having Robin Pryor, alias Shane Bond, actually in one of my classes, being a senior at Minichog Regional High School, I kind of feel I was kind of close to the situation. And the way I look at it is, the whole thing was kind of cute. Let's face it was kind of like a James Bond movie. It had everything but girls running around in bikinis, cars flying around, and little bizarre-looking Chinese men. My only suggestion is not to let the Board of Selectmen get a hold of the movie Coma. To most, spring means flowers, showers, and afternoon baseball games. But to Bob and Dale Miner of Hamden, spring means sap. That's the time of year when the maple trees New England is famous for begin to run. Tonight we'll visit with the Miners and learn the ancient old art of making maple syrup.